Hey everyone, it's Todd the Cybertruck truck guy, and we're going a little old school back in my truck today because I'm going to talk about 7 ways the Cybertruck would change my life if I got it tomorrow. Now I think these are going to be ways that are similar to how it will affect many of us, but I wanted to tell it from my perspective because this actually came from an idea that I had with fellow YouTuber Josh over at Nicola Garage. And we got the idea of me telling about the Cybertruck's impact as a longtime truck guy and somebody that uses trucks for work and play, and his perspective as a car guy getting a Cybertruck and a truck for the first time. So with that in mind, Josh did a little promotion about the video he's doing on his channel. I'm going to do the same thing on his channel for mine. And so check this out, and hopefully when you're done watching this video, you'll go take a look at his.
I am a car guy. I have always been a car guy. Back in 2004, my first car was a stunning Saturn SL2. At least it had a dual overhead cam. A year later, I ended up upgrading to a mighty Chevy Cavalier Z24. I drove that Cavalier until it literally rusted out, and then I bought my Subaru WRX wagon. And I have loved driving this thing for the past 8 years, and I'm honestly not in a hurry to retire it, but I do know that its days are numbered and I will need to replace this thing sometime soon. I could just follow my history and purchase another car, but there's one vehicle coming out in the next year that really promises many advantages over a car without the typical compromises.
All right, so like I said, we're out here in my truck and I'm out here in the middle of the country. I live, like I always say, out here in Truckland, and this is only about 15 minutes outside of town. And I wanted to use this as a little bit of a backdrop to tell the story about how if I got the Cybertruck tomorrow, it would change my life. And as you all know, I'm an active adventure traveler, off-road enthusiast, off-road motorcyclist, and use my truck for those purposes. And that's where the first point comes into play. If I got the Cybertruck tomorrow, the most important thing it would do for me is it would dramatically lower the barriers of travel for me personally. It comes down to 3 key factors: cost, comfort, and convenience. So in terms of cost, it comes down to your cost of fuel, your cost of lodging, and your cost of food. I see the Cybertruck is actually dramatically impacting all of those. So fuel cuts it in by a third. So when it comes to fuel, it's easiest if I point to this spreadsheet that I did when I was comparing the popular F-150 to the cost of Cybertruck when it relates to fuel. And as you can see here, the cost to fuel the Cybertruck looks to be about 1/3 the cost of fueling a regular pickup truck. The second place where the Cybertruck really can save money and therefore lowering the barrier of travel is that I can sleep in the bed of the Cybertruck pretty much from day one without any mods, without having to put any special tents or campers or anything in the back of it. And I can do that in a wide variety of climates. So what ends up happening is pretty much if I want to go on a trip around here, I have to stay in a hotel through the summer months because I don't own a camper. And a camper has all kinds of problems with storage and additional costs that I'd really rather avoid. I can pay less in fuel. I can pay less in lodging. I can actually pay less in camping. I'm going to put a short video in here, a wild camping site we discovered on our last trip down to Arkansas. And keep in mind, when I say wild, I mean free, no cost. We ended up finding this and we have it all to ourselves. So this is the difference between camping and a campground and having a really off-road capable vehicle that can get you into just gorgeous, pristine country where you're not crammed up. There's all kinds of free firewood. It's just tremendous. And honestly, the biggest challenge is finding level ground to pitch a tent, but there's enough of it here. We were able to do that. Matthew's got his hammock up, and I just wanted to share with you why having an adventure vehicle is so transformative. Oh, and this is free. This is all free. Didn't cost us a dime. So as you can see by this video, I actually can stay in better places for less money. And in that particular video, in that environment, the Cybertruck would have allowed me to stay there an extra day because I would be sleeping in air conditioning. Or I could also run an air conditioner off of the Cybertruck power bank. So that's cost, but what about convenience? The Cybertruck is going to offer tremendous benefits in terms of convenience. So the first thing is, right now we have two trucks. We have this Tacoma, which is much better for off-road, but it doesn't have a lot of storage capacity, doesn't have a lot of payload capacity. And if I have to put people in the back seat, it's not a very comfortable place to ride long. On the Tundra, it's more roomy, can carry a lot more, but it's not as off-road capable. It's not as nimble. It doesn't have the off-road suspension that I have. It's not as able to navigate. It doesn't have the advanced traction control features that I have. So it comes down to, I have to pick a vehicle when I'm going on a trip, especially if it's just me or if it's me and one of the kids, if it's not the whole family. I have to pick one, and it essentially limits what I'm going to do when I'm down taking a trip, going on a vacation. The Cybertruck lets me take one vehicle that is capable off-road, as capable for a vehicle that you can have fun with, but it also is a major cargo carrier. The cab is actually, I think, going to be bigger than the cab of the Tundra. It's massive. So it's very, very flexible. The second way that it's convenient is that if I decide to take a spontaneous trip, assuming I plug it in every night, the battery is always charged. I can basically get in and go. I don't have a bunch of time that I have to go to the gas station, fill up, have that cost. I can just leave. And the other beautiful thing is that because of its additional storage compartments, the frunk and the storage in the sail panels, I can keep a lot of the gear that I would normally want to bring with me on an adventure trip in the Cybertruck without it being in the cab or without it being in the bed, getting in the way. So I'm always ready to go. It makes my prep time and my unload time at the end way, way easier. So it's going to be super convenient to just go. And the last thing is comfort. The Cybertruck is going to be the most comfortable adventure travel platform that there is. The first thing is the air ride suspension. The air ride suspension isn't just going to make traveling on the highway enjoyable, but it's also going to make roads like this, these gravel roads that we have all over, that are full of washboarding, meaning they have these bumps in them. What that just ends up doing is you have to drive slower, number one, and number two, it kind of beats you up. It's not a big deal if you're on it for an hour, but if you're on it for 4 hours or 5 hours, these roads kind of beat you up. Cybertruck is going to be super comfortable to drive on. Second place it's going to be comfortable is to sleep in the bed. I already mentioned that, but because the air suspension will level out, if you've never tried to make camp in a place where you don't have a very good level platform and you've never slept on a air mattress or a cot that's tilting and slanting, you don't know how miserable that is. That's one of the reasons why high-end campers all have air leveling systems, and the Cybertruck will have the air leveling system on it. And then it's going to be comfortable as a long distance driving platform because of the autopilot features that lets you get in and not be exhausted going long distances, because yes, you have to pay attention, but you don't have to literally have both hands on the wheel, watching the road every second. You have some help so you can relax, so you don't get to your destination wiped out. And of course, we're all hoping that as soon as autopilot becomes available, that's going to be the ultimate adventure travel or just travel tool, because you're going to be able to program it in and go to sleep and wake up 8, 10, 12 hours away. That is going to totally transform travel. So for me, number one, lowering the barrier of travel. Secondly, and this is very related to lowering the barrier of adventure travel, but but it's going to expand my off-road horizons. For those of you who've watched my channel for a while, you know that I'm an avid off-road enthusiast, both with motorcycles and with trucks and other vehicles. And one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about off-roading is they imagine, you know, like a purpose-built rock crawler going up a gorge in Colorado. And yes, that's off-roading. But most off-roading actually happens on roads that are like this, or and they're regularly traveled roads. They might not be this pristine as the road I'm on right now, but they're regularly traveled. They're not these super technical, insane, like you need a special purpose-built vehicle to go there. But the problem with a lot of these roads is they're not, especially, I have another video. I'm going to insert some clips in here to demonstrate what I'm talking about. But they're navigable, but a lot of times what happens is vegetation starts to grow in from the outside, and you start to have branches and trees and other obstacles that end up getting in the way, and it creates a situation where you don't feel comfortable taking your vehicle on that trail, not because the vehicle is incapable of it, but because you're gonna damage it. And I've shown this before. Let's see here. But this is my, this is duct tape holding on my mirror, my side mirror here, that I ripped it off. I ripped this off on a tree. What ends up happening is you have a vehicle that might be capable of going on the trail that you're on, but you can't do it without risking some scrapes and dings and tearing off a mirror, that kind of thing. And the Cybertruck will virtually eliminate the risks of doing low speed driving on these more risky, and I don't mean risky like safety, I mean risky from damaging, scratching your car. You're gonna be able, or I'm gonna be able, to go down trails that I would otherwise avoid because I just don't want to scratch up all the paint on my truck, not because I can't do it. So it expands that segment of off-road. Second thing is that as much as I love my Tacoma and it's a great off-road vehicle when you compare it to the rest of the world, the one thing that it has that's a big, it's not a disadvantage, but it just isn't as capable as, say, the Ford Raptor or the new Ram TRX, which is they're fast. Now, they're not as fast as a Cybertruck, but they're fast. Why does that matter? Well, driving fast off-road is fun. That's why I do motorcycling off-road, so I can actually go fast when I'm off-roading. When you take a vehicle like a Tacoma or a Jeep or a stock SUV, you don't have the acceleration that you have with, say, a motorcycle. But the Cybertruck, especially the one I'm getting, the tri-motor Cybertruck, actually, it's faster than my motorcycle, which is very fast. I'll never test the limits of the Cybertruck off-road. Going fast off-road is fun. Especially, look, here's what I'm trying to tell people. Let's turn around here. Hopefully that shows up on the camera. There's these kinds of gravel roads, and there's more interesting ones. Like I said, I'll show some footage of that down in the Ozarks and certainly out in Colorado that they're not technical, but they are in the backcountry. And so far I've been, let's see, this video, so far this segment of this video is going on 14 minutes. Not one vehicle coming or going. No one's come from one direction or the other. This is what you have to remember, is that you're able to, with the Cybertruck, in most metropolitan areas, if you get 30 miles outside the metro area, you have gravel roads. You're out in rural America. And a gravel road that's really boring at 25 or 35 miles an hour can be super exciting at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. And I'm not recommending you drive recklessly, but if you're in an environment where there's no one for miles and you can see that, you can go out and you can go faster off-road in the Cybertruck than you can on pavement, not because you can go faster, but because there's no speed traps. I mean, there's no one monitoring you. So you're going to get to expand into high-speed off-roading, or I will, high-speed vehicle off-roading. Most stock off-road vehicles have a ground clearance of around 9 to 12 inches. Unless you get specialized lift kits and specialized suspension, you end up being somewhere between 9 and 12 inches of clearance. But you also have another disadvantage, which is you have an irregular bottom. You have your differential, what they call a pumpkin, the big ball on your rear differential. And then you have just irregularities underneath the car that can get caught on obstacles. And one of the most common obstacles when you're going off-roading are ruts, where you have a rut where one tire is and a rut where another tire is. And then you have this high island where the tires, where it's straddling the tire tracks. And over time, they end up being that you can basically only take high clearance Jeeps on them because the ruts are 12, 13, 14 inches deep. Well, a Cybertruck with a 16-inch clearance and a flat bottom will allow you to go into some of these areas with these really deep ruts and sort of just kind of slide your way across them. That is a remarkable advantage. So in terms of travel and adventuring and off-roading, the Cybertruck for me is going to totally change my life. And the last thing I want to say about off-roading is most off-road capable vehicles suck in terms of how many passengers you can carry and how much payload you can carry. And what the Cybertruck will let me do is it will let me go into areas that are more remote because I can bring more gear with me, more people with me. I did another video on how I can use a generator and some propane tanks to extend the range. And because of how I can use the platform of the Cybertruck for camping and how comfortable it will be and how capable it will be off-road, I'm willing to go into some places where it'll take me all day to get into them and then camp overnight or camp several nights because I can bring all the food, all my camping gear. I can bring spare tires. I can bring a generator. I can bring propane canisters. I can bring a kayak. I can bring all this other stuff. Some of these the best places to experience nature are remote, and you don't want to have to drive in and turn around and drive back out. You want to stay for a couple of days. The Cybertruck will let you bring your whole family, all the gear, all the toys, everything with you. You just can't do that with all the other ones. You have to bring a trailer, which it sounds good in theory, but if you try and take a trailer on some of these trails, good luck. I would say 50% of the time when I'm going on a difficult trail, I have to back out because I get in and it's like I can't go any further. It's too narrow. There's a turn I can't make. There's a drop off. There's a washout. There's some obstacle that I cannot clear, and now I got to back it out. Good freaking luck doing that when you're pulling a trailer. That's why having all the cargo capacity, all the bed, all the full-size cab, that's why it's such a huge deal. It totally expands where you can go, the kind of recreation you can engage in, the sort of places you're willing to drive out to and camp for a few days. And then you're going to be able to you can put up 5 or 6 temporary solar panels. If you're there for a few days, you can actually get all the way charged or very full charge back on your battery and come back out, never having spent a dime. It's going to revolutionize adventure travel, off-roading, and travel in general. The Cybertruck, that for me, those are 2 huge areas. All right, so point number 3, I'm going to be able to put the Cybertruck through its paces. I'm going to be able to test the limits of the Cybertruck. The advantage that I have is that I use trucks more widely than most people use trucks. So the fact that I do hardcore off-roading and our business runs using trucks, so we're using them commercially in snow removal, we're using them for pulling trailers, for pulling heavy equipment around, and I use my truck as my office, how I conduct business, and it's my personal vehicle. So I'm basically in and around trucks all the time, and I I can do things or will do things with my Cybertruck that a lot of people probably won't. As of, for instance, because of our business, I'm driving around the entire snowstorm, entire ice storms, all throughout the city in all kinds of different snow situations. So some people might get a Cybertruck out and test it for an hour or two in the snow. I'm going to be testing it for hundreds of hours. Same for off-roading. Then I can also hook up trailers. We can do tests, pulling different weights around town, different, hills and all that kind of stuff. So I can put giant pallets of rock and ice melt in the bed and see how it rides. I will have the ability to really verify from a bunch of different fronts how capable the Cybertruck is. So that will change my life because it will give me a broad set of scenarios to test the capability of the Cybertruck. The next way it's going to change my life is it's going to let me talk about the Cybertruck to people that aren't watching my channel. Right now, the only people I can really talk to the Cybertruck to are all y'all that watch my channel and a handful of people that I know that are interested in the Cybertruck around town. The reality is, in Truckland, people are not going to give the Cybertruck or electric vehicles in general a whole lot of thought until they actually get in one, until they ride in one, until they experience it. And they don't want to talk about it. Even in our business, I've talked to my brother-in-law about utilizing the Cybertruck, which he's for, but it's not going to drive the conversation as when I show up in it and we take it out and we test it. We have the ability to get it in real world situations. It's going to let me drive conversations about electric trucks and electric vehicles in a way I just can't right now until I actually get a Cybertruck, until I have it and my neighbors are coming over. That's what's going to happen. And in our world, people I know a lot of places it's not like this, but in the Midwest, strangers will just come up to you and strike up conversations, especially if you have an interesting vehicle. And that happens to me a lot when I'm driving my adventure motorcycle. People are really curious because it's not like most motorcycles they see and they want to talk to me about it and where do I go? What do I do with it? All that other stuff. The Cybertruck will drive conversations about electric vehicles, renewable energy. The tipping point for most people is going to be experiencing a Cybertruck. And that's going to be life-changing because I love to talk about the Cybertruck, but I'm limited to other people that are already kind of interested in it. This will unlock a whole new audience. And wait until I start posting videos of truck guys, hardcore truck guys in my truck, driving my truck, doing things with my truck that will blow their minds. That's why I keep saying get your reservation now, because man, once these videos start coming out of hardcore truck people getting their minds blown with electric trucks, the Cybertruck, but I think they're gonna have their minds blown by other electric trucks like the Rivian. So the next thing the Cybertruck is gonna do for me, it's gonna let me add residual income from my vehicle. Right now, if you go on Turo and you look, my Tacoma, you look and see what these are renting for a day, it's like $50 a day. And the problem is when you look at the total cost of ownership of a vehicle, it averages about 60 cents a mile. So when you have the Cybertruck that's being built to do 1 million miles, we don't know if it will have a 1 million mile battery yet. We're almost to battery day. But even if it doesn't, even if I have to swap out a new battery at 500,000 miles, big whoop. I've never, the furthest, so I have 2 Honda Pilots right now that my kids now drive, and they both have over 200, one almost has 250,000 and the other one has over 200,000 miles. Almost every other vehicle I've ever had is gone. It doesn't make it past 125,000 miles before I feel like I need to sell it or trade it in. It's not like I don't mind driving vehicles that have 250,000 miles on them if they're reliable. The way that math is going to work with the Cybertruck is if you go and you look at what high performance Teslas rent for, they're usually somewhere around 2 to 4 times sort of their comparable non-electric vehicle counterpart. Now that's going to probably change over time, but for now there's a premium to rent them. And if I can get a premium, so let's say this is 50, let's say I can rent out the Cybertruck for $100 a day, and it only costs me, instead of 50 or 60 cents a mile, it costs me 25 cents a mile. According to Elon Musk, once we get to the point where robotaxis are viable, the actual cost of running a vehicle is going to be 20 cents a mile or less. And that's all in insurance, fuel, repairs, maintenance, everything. So if you think about that, that means that if someone, let's say they put an average of 150 miles on it, if I'm renting my Tacoma out at $50 and they're driving 150 miles, the cost is, it's costing me, say 50 cents, it's costing me $75 to get $50 of rental. Not a great deal. So turn around, I can rent a Cybertruck out for $100 and it's costing 20. That's real money. And it's working the same, we don't even know what it will be able to produce in terms of once the robotaxi feature is enabled, but who knows? Just exclude that. Say it never happened. Say that people are just renting it. My tri-motor Cybertruck, I'll bet I can rent it for $150 a day. Something that can go 2.9 seconds and can tow at the same time. In my part of the world, that is going to be a very, very popular vehicle to rent because of its flexibility and because of its cool factor, at least for a while. So that's going to open up all kinds of residual income, whether you're doing ride hailing. I like driving, so I would be the kind of person that would work a regular job and then on Friday or Saturday I'd do Uber if there was good money in it. I've never done that because, again, the cost of using my vehicles to do Uber would make it almost like worthless, like I'm doing it for free. But if Tesla starts a ride-hailing network and they pay their drivers a little bit more and the cost of running the vehicles is less and you're getting a premium, because right now all Teslas get a premium on Uber and Lyft, I think people would way prefer taking an Uber or Lyft or a ride sharing in a Cybertruck where the distance between the driver and the passenger is bigger and there's more room to spread out. It's more comfortable, air ride suspension. It's going to be like a limousine. So I think there'll be lots of ways to make money with the Cybertruck that just aren't practical with my existing vehicles. So the next thing that's going to change about the Cybertruck, I mentioned this briefly earlier, it's going to inspire us to look at business applications. So when I talk about income earning, I'm talking about Todd, just on the side, not connected to our landscape and snow removal business. But the other part about getting the Cybertruck is I am anxious to get some electric vehicles into our fleet that we use to swap out for conventional pickup trucks. And one of the things I really am hoping, so Tesla, I really hope you figure this out, I want to be able to buy the Cybertruck and not have a plow on the front of it void the warranty. Plowing is a big deal here in the Midwest. A lot of guys do snow removal on the side to basically pay for their pickup truck. So a lot of them are construction guys, and what they do is they get laid off in the winter and they do snow removal. I mean, they do odd jobs, but one of the things they do is snow removal because you can kind of make 85 to 125 bucks an hour doing snow removal. So I really want to be able to utilize or experiment with utilizing the Cybertruck in our business. And until I have one, it's going to be really hard to get buy-in in our company for the Cybertruck. Because again, Ford and Chevy, these are reliable, proven vehicles that have very robust service. I can lose a Ford truck or a Chevy truck and I can get a rental or a replacement within hours that can do basically the same thing. People are going to be reticent in a commercial setting to switch over to the Cybertruck, but where What's going to change is people like me that are in small businesses that use pickup trucks are going to start testing them out and doing things like putting in different kinds of rack systems in the bed for tools and seeing what the cost difference is towing. And then if full self-driving becomes a thing, that could become a game changer in terms of business as far as what you could do, because you could have one truck that could actually come, pick up a trailer, deliver a trailer, come back, get another trailer, deliver that trailer. So you could replace, theoretically, 2 or 3 pickups with a full self-driving pickup truck if it could tow full self-driving. So again, is that near? No, that's probably 5 to 10 years away. But what I like about getting one is we can start testing it. And not just me, but I know other small business people are going to do the same thing. How do we leverage this platform to replace conventional ICE vehicles? The last way the Cybertruck would change my life if I got it today or tomorrow is that in general, it lets me bring more people along for the ride. This channel was a way for me to share my excitement and passion about the Cybertruck with other like-minded individuals and hopefully be on the ride together as we wait for our Cybertrucks, as we ultimately get them, as we use them in the real world, as we begin to modify them with aftermarket components. It's all about this whole journey that we're going to be on. And the Cybertruck, both literally and figuratively, lets me bring more people along for the ride. It lets me create better YouTube videos because I have it. I'm showing what it can do. People are getting to experience it. But it also is a vehicle that lets me actually put 5 or 6 people in it and go out and do some of this stuff and take them along for the ride. The other thing it's going to let me do is it's going to let me go further to do things like meetups, because it's going to give me more flexible ability. So I'll be able to go, within probably a 10-hour radius of Kansas City. Kansas City doesn't have a lot of good things going for it, but one thing it has is it's in the middle of the country. So it's like almost everything except the coasts is within about 10 hours. I can get to like Dallas in 10 hours. I can get to Chicago in 10 hours. I can get to Denver in 10 hours. I can get up to the Twin Cities in about 7 hours. So there's all these, Tulsa, Oklahoma City. There's this whole, New Orleans is like 12 hours. There's all this world I can reach in about 10 or 12 hours. And once I get the Cybertruck, I'm going to be able to go out to all the places where all y'all are at, be able to do some meetups, be able to go out off-roading, just be able to enjoy the ride. To me, the biggest way the Cybertruck is going to affect me is I look at it as the ultimate lifestyle tool. And I want to enjoy that tool. I want to share the tool. And I also want it to be a canvas by which we get to build an awesome community and experience the natural world and have fun and do something that is good for the planet all at the same time. So for me, that's how everything would change if I get the Cybertruck tomorrow. So if you have an extra reservation and you're early and they're transferable, consider doing something good for the world and giving it to me. All right. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Again, most Thursday nights at 8 p.m. we do Cybertruck Live. So join us there. And other than that, that's it. We'll catch you next time. Bye.